As everyone was complaining that I only wear 1, 2, or 3 shirts for all my videos, I have a good surprise for you guys. It's right now.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Bonjour everyone, my pleasure to host you right there guys, because we're going to talk about some leaks that were posted by Blitzpost. Basically, we will have the pleasure of taking a look at the statistics, the official statistics of the Kun sponsor, the Samuya SM, the M-VI-Yoh as well, and the upcoming Cromwell from the April Battle Pass, which is going to be quite a good video for you to understand what you want to buy and what you don't want to buy, and I'm also going to give my opinion. So let's not lose too much time and jump directly into it by starting with the Kun Panzer. What is good about that tank? It's a tier 7 light tank and it's gonna be a premium one from the German tech tree. It's kind of a RU251 but one tier below. And the cool thing about that tank is that the vanilla stats are quite impressive. The aim time is really, I would say average for the aim time. I wanted to say good, but let's say average considering it's a light tank, but the rest is really good. The gun dispersion is fine. 0.34, yes, sucks, but I want to remind you that it's vanilla, so without any equipment. So when you use the right equipment, you will lower it down. The GPM is really good for a tier 7, 2K, 6.7 seconds of reload. Your penetration is awesome as well, especially your heat shell penetration. 235 for tier 7 is insane. Your HE penetration is really good as well and will probably allow you to do quite a lot of tricky stuff on the side armor of tier 6 or even tier 7. Average damage is good, 225. It's a traditional 90mm gun, so nothing really exciting about that. Gun depression, and that's where things are getting really interesting, 10 degrees, so that tank is going to be quite versatile. I'm excited to be able to play the Kun Panzer. I don't know when it's going to come for the moment. All I know is that if we have access to the statistics, it probably means that Wargaming is working on that tank right now. Now let's talk about the maneuverability. I never know how we pronounce that, so I'm gonna go for speed. Basically 70 km per hour, 23 reverse, it's awesome. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest mobility at tier 7. And for our pleasure, it's a premium tank, obviously. Now, survivability, sorry. Hit points 1000, main armor, no armor at all, and a good view range. So with this tank, you know what you have to do. You gotta be careful, try to play on rich lines from the distance, and why not spot some targets and spam hit when you are encountering tier 8 tanks. Next tank, we gotta talk about the Samuya SM, which is basically the premium version of the AMX 5100, but with a way better armor. Overall, when you take into consideration that tank, you have a really bad aiming time and overall a really bad precision, let's say it like that. The accuracy really sucks. The DPM is average, which is normal because we're talking about an autoloader. The magazine reload time, 22 seconds, is quite long considering you have 3 shells in your magazine, and the shell reload time is 2.4 seconds, which means that if you want to burst all your shells, your whole reload, considering you have to reload 2 shells plus your 22 seconds based magazine reload time, you'll have to reload for a total of nearly 27 seconds, which seems to be quite high in my opinion. Now, the penetration is really good. Your average damage, I mean, it's a 100mm gun, so you couldn't expect more or less than 310. Gun turn limit, something really interesting, 10 degrees of gun depression that will allow you to work on rich lines, especially knowing that the turret on this tank and also the hull are quite angled. Therefore, you will be able to do quite a lot of things on the battlefield. Now, for the speed, top speed 40 km per hour, it's nice and it's enough for you to take advanced position. We have the traditional Frenchy engine power. The turn rate is bad, so it's going to be an easy tank to circle in my opinion. Look at this, 26 degrees per second for the hull and 29 degrees per second for the turret. And finally, survivability, the exact same as the AMX 5100, 1.8k damage, hit points or damage if you're getting completely wrecked. But still, I don't know what to tell you really about that tank right now. I feel like it's gonna be a situationally OP tank. It will be OP if you have the support necessarily that you need when you are reloading. But probably that alone, it's not gonna be the best tank ever. Finally, before talking about the Yoh, guys, we have the Explorer, which is the April main Battle Pass reward, aka a Cromwell in disguise, that disguised as some kind of a spaceship. What do you need to know about that tank? Because I know a lot of you are going to try to compare it to other tanks already existing, the Cromwell and the Cromwell B. This tank is the exact same. It's a literal copy-paste of the Cromwell, but reskin. Not the Cromwell B, because as you can see, it features 8 degrees of gun depression, which is the exact same gun depression as the one we have on the Cromwell, whereas on the Cromwell B, we have 13 degrees of gun depression, which makes the Cromwell B still the king out of all the Cromwells ever implemented into that game. Is it gonna be a good tank, the Explorer? If you already have the Cromwell in your garage and you enriched it, you don't need to buy the Explorer. But in case you don't want to spend your gold in a useless way by enriching your Cromwell that is gonna probably cost you around 8k gold, you can go for the easy way, pay $5, unlock the Explorer, and you get yourself a premium Cromwell, not for free, but for a really cheaper price than if you had to enrich. Now, exactly the same as the Cromwell. I don't even want to spend too much time on that. Those statistics are copy-paste, so let's move on to the main subject of this video. And now, guys, the moment we all waited for, the super test abilities of the M-VI-Yoh got leaked. Thank you once again, Blitzpost, but I think everything is public by now, because if Blitzpost is releasing it, that means that everybody has access to it. I'm just making some publicity for the tank. The cool thing about that tank is that it features 2 different guns, so 120mm one and a 105. And that's insane, because Wargaming actually allowed us to choose between 2 guns, and both of those guns have their pros and cons, which makes this tank even better to play, because you will be able to switch playstyle depending on what type of gun you use. And you can also kind of surprise your opponents, because they will not know which gun you are using at the beginning of a game. So Wargaming, if you want to do that more often, it will be welcome with pleasure. Now, let's talk first about the 105mm gun. The main difference between the 120 and the 105 is that the 105 features a better gun accuracy and more flexibility on the battlefield, because yes, you have a lower you have a lower average damage, which is 300, but at least you have 3 shells, which means that you can finish targets more easily, and you are not going to get blocked by only 2 shells in your magazine. The magazine reload time is 13.6 seconds for a total, because you have 2.5 seconds between shell, a total of 18.6 seconds of reload. What I mean here is, every time you burst all your shells, if you do it as soon as you are reloaded, it will take you 18.6 seconds for a total of 900 damage and a good penetration. But the penetration shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's an American tank. One last thing that is really interesting about the 105, and that's possibly what makes this gun awesome in my opinion, it's the 10 degrees of gun depression, whereas on the 120mm one, you only have 7 degrees. Trust me, 3 degrees of gun depression, it's quite a lot. And yes, you are going to see the difference on the battlefield. It means that the 105mm one is mostly suited for rich lines or for maps where you get to play at the distance, and especially having to use your gun depression on hills, etc. Whereas the 120mm gun is more something to burst damage fast and to inflict a lot of damage in a small time. Gun dispersion is a little bit worse, and the DPM is slightly is a little bit better as well on this tank, but the magazine reload time is nearly 17 seconds and 1.4 seconds between shell. This 120mm gun is a bursting one. You are here to sneak your 2 shells as fast as possible and come back to a safe position. It can be an extremely effective playstyle if you are playing in support, whereas the 105mm is more to someone that wants to play aggressively. So I guess if I had to choose, I would go for the 120mm, knowing that it also features 450 average damage per shot, so 900 damage when you are reloaded in 1.4 seconds. This is completely insane. It all depends on what you guys like. If you are an aggressive player, I think the 105mm is going to be the best one, because it's the most flexible out of those 2. And if you are a support player, or you just want to have those insane bursting abilities, you should go for the 120mm one. Now, for the rest of the tank, the mobility or the speed in general is average. So with this tank, you got to make every single decision count, and you don't want to spend too much time on the wrong side of the map. Otherwise, you're going to get completely destroyed. And make sure, as you are an auto-loader, to stick with the rest of your team. Otherwise, when you are reloading, people will push you, and it's going to be a nightmare to face them. Hopefully you enjoyed. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share, and tell me in the comments which out of those two guns you will play in the battlefield. I'm personally quite excited for the tank, and I think I'm going to play it only with the 120mm. But hey, maybe Wargaming is going to change my mind. Bye.